Hello and welcome, and thank you for joining us again for the third instalment of our Scenic Rim Crisis Ready and Continuity Planning workshops and videos. My name is Natasha Montisalvo from EarthTech, and I'll be guiding you through today's video, which is specifically focused on preparedness. Just a reminder, if you're yet to download the Crisis Ready app, thanks to the Scenic Rim Regional Council, you do have access to the Crisis Ready app for the next 2 years. So if you go to your App Store or to Google Play, you'll be able to download a version of the Crisis Ready, or one word, app. Once you've downloaded it, enter in the event code RISK Scenic Rim, and it will take you to a login page. Now, if it's your first time utilising the app, then you won't have a login yet. So just scroll to the very bottom and you'll see that there's a space for you to pop in your details and create a new program. Once you've done that, you'll then have access for the next 2 years with all your information locally stored. Just to let you know that no one else can see the back end of your app, no one else can see the information that you're popping into the app. It is purely for you to utilise to help reduce the risks and respond more effectively. So you'll see that once you've got into the app, it looks just like the one that you can see on your screen here. So just a reminder as to why we're here. We're operating in an incredibly volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous world, and never before has it been more true than the last 18 months of volatility that we've seen, with some uncertain times in regards to our borders and how our tourism industry is operating. So knowing and understanding what our risks are, how we can reduce those risks and respond most effectively has become even more important than ever before. A crisis is any situation that has the potential to affect the long-term confidence in your organisation, product or region, and that may interfere with your ability to operate normally. It's a panic moment that's outside of your usual control. Aligned with the United Nations Sendai framework for disaster risk management, Queensland and Australia operate under 4 phases of crisis management: prevention, preparedness, response, and recovery, all of which rely on rehearsal, maintenance, and continual review and improvement. The last video that hopefully you've gone through first was looking at prevention and how you can identify risks for your business and prioritize actions against those risks. This video is focusing in on preparedness, so making sure that you've got all of the resources required to respond effectively and recover quickly. There are 2 more videos following on from this one that will explore response and recovery. So, looking at preparation, what your business needs to do. First up, you need to plan to manage your risk. So identify what your risks are, assess the risks to your business, and take action to address those risks where possible. Some of those actions may be small and easy to do: mowing your lawn, cleaning your gutters, making sure that your databases are all backed up securely. Some of them may take a little bit longer to achieve. They may be a little bit more costly, and you may need to budget for them in future years. So just be aware of the scale of action that you can take across your journey. Sharing the load is about establishing a crisis response team, making sure that your team are aware of their roles and responsibilities, that they know and understand regional emergency planning, that you've got a clear network of response and communication, both internally and externally, and making sure that everyone practices and rehearses and understands what is required of them in an emergency situation. Then you need to plan when it is time to respond, so knowing what early warning signs to look for, how you can assess the situation, what your first steps need to be in terms of your immediate response, evacuating your staff and your guests effectively, and also making sure that your external communication is consistent with a broader regional view, and that you're working hand in hand with the media to control your narrative around the response of a specific incident. You need to plan to stay in business. And whilst that sounds like common sense, it's often a step that gets forgotten. So you're identifying critical business operations. What is it that you need to be able to deliver? Can it be done off-site? If so, making sure that you've got access to the services that you require to be able to deliver off-site. If you can't deliver on your key experiences or products for whatever reason it may be, whatever crisis has impacted your business, then what are the alternatives that you can do to continue to keep your cash flow moving in those challenging times? It's something that we saw specifically with COVID-19 and the impacts of loss of certain markets, being able to adapt and move towards new markets swiftly so that you're able to stay in business. And practice, making sure that you're conducting drills with your staff, that you're reflecting and reassessing your response. Was it effective? Was it efficient? Were the right people in the right roles during that process? And then making sure that any changes you need to make are embedded in your plans and your processes moving forward, so that everybody is aware of where they need to be when they need to be in certain places. So if you head back to where you got your videos from, you'll notice that there are a number of templates that you can download. So if you download the continuity plan template and turn to page 14 to 16, you'll find that there's templates in there to allocate roles and responsibilities and personnel to join your crisis response team. Now, for those of you in larger organisations, it may be your management who are acting as your crisis response team, taking the heads of each department and allocating them relevant roles and responsibilities across the crisis management process. For those of you who are a smaller or perhaps a micro business, then look to external people who may be able to support your response and your recovery. Now, in that case, it may be a family member or people who have specific skill sets that you can draw on in a time of crisis. That could be your accountant, someone who specialises in PR or marketing, or a neighbour who has a specific skill set that may be able to assist you in managing your property. It's people who you're able to call on in times of a crisis to support your response. This is all about surrounding yourselves with the right people in the right roles to get your business moving as quickly as possible, or to get it back up and running more effectively. So head to page 14 to 16 in that template and spend some time thinking about who is best placed to be on your crisis response team and the roles and responsibilities that they will have in that process. It may be that they're responsible for a specific aspect of your crisis response. So, for example, dealing with your HR or your staff, or dealing with the disaster site management. It could be that it's your role that you're allocating and you're going to be the team leader on site at the time, the person who calls the emergency and communicates clear aspects along the way. Or it may be that they're the media liaison, the person with the skills and capacity to stand in front of the media and give them an overview of the incident and what's happened and what that means for your business or for your guests. You'll also find in your CrisisReady app that there is a place for roles and responsibilities. And it gives you a list of the types of roles that you might want to consider as you're going through your crisis response. Now, as you're setting up your app, you'll need to allocate these roles and responsibilities to each of your staff members. Now, you can get your staff to download the app as well, and then you can each tick the roles and responsibilities that you are personally responsible for in that process. This means that when you start a crisis through the app, it will guide you through the roles and responsibilities that you have been allocated. So making sure that you're allocating the right roles and responsibilities to the right people through that process is quite important. Now, consider your business structure when you're allocating roles and responsibilities, and also consider your staff or your team members as you go through that plan. All those external support members that you've identified. It may be that as you practice and you do some drills that you find that people aren't perhaps suited to the initial roles that you allocated for them. Reflect back on that and make sure that you update and change roles and responsibilities according to skill sets and the level of ability that exists within your team. So in that team management team, you'll be able to allocate roles and responsibilities for each of your team members. So once you've done it on paper and you've got it in your continuity plan, head into the app and update that information accordingly. Now, our business continuity plan helps to reduce the impact and respond to the risks that are coming our way. We can't write a plan for every single crisis because each one is different. But there are a number of common characteristics that you can count on that can help you define who is in your team and what the roles and responsibilities are that are required through that process. And that is that there's normally an element of physical danger. It can cause confusion, friction, and stress amongst your team. You need to be aware that people will be busy and unable to do their normal duties. So those people that you've allocated across your crisis management response team are going to be distracted with other duties. So how can you reallocate their existing roles and responsibilities if there is some aspect of business as usual continuing on to make sure that all the roles of your organisation are completed in a timely manner? You might need external support, whether it's the support of emergency management or whether it is additional accountants or marketing support or even communication support through your local tourism organisation or through council. In the first few hours, you might be lacking in quality information. Keep an eye on the disaster management dashboard that council operates because that is a strong source of truth for you during a turbulent time. The ABC is also a good form of truth. Just be careful when you're looking at Facebook pages because a lot of disinformation can be spread very quickly through community pages. So making sure that you're going to the rural fire services, that you're going to council's disaster management dashboard or the ABC to determine what's going on. Stakeholders and media interest may be intense. Everybody loves a negative tourism story, unfortunately. So making sure that you're coordinating your response with the Scenic Rim Regional Council and with the local tourism organisation, and that you're giving media messages and regular updates where viable or possible. One thing that we've learned through a number of years of crisis response is that the media will run with a story whether you give the message or not. So by talking with the media from an early time, it enables you to have control over the message that's going out about your organisation or your destination. So just make sure that you consider that as a key role and responsibility as you're allocating those across your team. And news travels fast. The hours immediately following a crisis are the most important in shaping public perceptions. If you remember back to the introductory video that I shared with you, the perception of risk is almost as important as the actual risk across the tourism industry. So managing those perceptions and managing the thought of risk is a really important thing to do as part of your crisis response. So make sure you factor that in terms of roles and responsibilities as well. So look, that was a really quick overview of how you can start to prepare for a crisis situation. It really is about getting your team in place to make sure that you're ready. Now, as we go through the response, there'll be a few more aspects in terms of response that you'll need to prepare for as well. Remembering that this is an ongoing cycle that we need to continue to look at and continue as a business as usual conversation. So take advantage of what we've started here. Make sure that you're updating your app and allocating those roles and responsibilities effectively, and that you're utilising the templates and the support materials that are available to you. This is all about helping to support you to make sure that your business can respond effectively and recover as quickly as possible. Remembering that action is the foundation key to all success. So as always, if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out. My email address and telephone number are there for you. So should you require any additional support, please just touch base with me. Otherwise, make sure that you're watching the next video to look at your response. Thank you.